Good morning, good morning, good morning. What's up? How you doing? Welcome back to Get Over the Hump. Yeah? Let me say to you again, good morning, good morning, good morning. Get Over the Hump. We are here every Wednesday and Friday mornings at 7 a.m. Eastern, every Wednesday and Friday mornings at 7 a.m. Eastern right here on Instagram Live. What's up, Mom? So we got to ask the first three questions. What's up, Rachel? Sylvia, I need to talk to you just for the record as I'm remembering in this moment. So first three questions. Did you bring somebody with you? Did you get it to three people? Where you tapping in from? Yeah. Did you bring somebody with you? Did you get it to three people? Where you tapping in from? Come on, Shakara. You see it on location. On location. Yeah. Can't stop, won't stop. That's what we do. But Get Over the Hump is the place where we bring leaders, entrepreneurs, influencers, professionals together to create the fresh perspective we need to give us that oomph to get to the other side. So let me say to you all again, good morning, and again I say to you, good morning. DMV, Virginia's in the building. Yep, we're here. Yep, what up, Seta? So as we move forward, and y'all know when I'm on location, I don't have a whole lot of time, but we got to go through the next questions. I need to check in on your week. What kind of week are you having, good people? Are we having the first kind of week? The I'm a classic kind of week that simply says, you know something? I'm no longer explaining myself to people who insist on seeing me through their own lens. Nope, not going to do it. So I'm not explaining myself to them. So that's what I'm a classic. Number two, my dopeness doesn't expire. Yeah, my dopeness doesn't expire. Why is that important? Because here's what we know. I'm in time, set to arrive on time to impact the people I'm supposed to at the right time. So I can chill out, be present, and know that it's going to happen when it's supposed to happen. Yeah. There we go. And then last but definitely not least, it's that what was meant to kill me gave me life. What was meant to destroy me developed me. And what's in front of me don't stand a chance. I'm built for this. Yeah, I'm built for this. So as we go, what kind of week are we having? Let's go. I see you, Shakara. My dopeness doesn't expire. Yes, ma'am. I see you. Come on, Chantrice. My dopeness doesn't expire. Shout out to Chantrice and all of the sanctified spiritual sisters and all of which I did in your conference this past weekend. I did not get a chance to be a part of it for the first time since I've known about you all. I hate it, but I was on a mission. I was actually in D.C. working on the event. I see you, Mama. I'm built for this. I see you, Shakara. My dopeness doesn't expire. I see you, Seta. I'm a classic. No, I see where we at. Shout out to, what up, Sam? I see you. RDU was in the building. And so remember, the reason why we talk about this is because the only thing that we control is our perspective. And our perspective determines whether we see obstacles or opportunities, whether we see possibilities or problems. And so when we can shape our perspective, then we begin to see a path forward where we can begin to see the vision of our minds becoming the reality of our lives. And we focus and we execute on that. All right. So I wanted to dive in today to kind of build a little bit more off of what we've been talking about the last couple of weeks. Statement I made, which is this season of your life is not going to come by the work of your hands. It is going to come by the strength of your faith. And so we talked Friday about Peter walking on the water. And to follow up on that, I wanted to talk about this tension between two statements or two words that I think at times people get a little bit mixed up, that they believe that one is synonymous with the other, or in English, they think they're a synonym. It's the same thing. But I believe that once we finish today, you'll be able to see the difference and also be able to understand what Peter himself was doing when he walked out on the water. There's a posture that Peter had when he walked on the water that gave him the ability to be able to navigate different. There's a posture that he had that a lot of us at times, when we get into these moments of our life, you swing one way or the other. You go from apathy to not caring, or it's 5-alarm fire. And either side of those isn't the nuance. All right. And I want to talk about the tension real quick while I'm here. The tension of emergency and urgent. Yep, I want to talk about the difference between urgency and emergency. And guess what? They're not the same thing. Let me say that to you again. I want to talk about the difference between urgency and emergency. And hopefully when I'm finished, you will understand that they are not the same thing. All right? Now, I'm just going to simply break these down. And I want you, do what we do, talk back to each other, and let's get after it. All right. So when we look at urgency, there's a space with urgency that it allows for us to think about urgency. It allows for you to focus. Yeah, because in a basketball game, when time is running out, you're in a position where it's like, oh, I got time to still get this done. But time isn't my enemy, but it's definitely not my friend. So you focus. You allow for as we talked about before, the analogy of the stream of light. You allow for you to go from being all over the place as a flashlight to now being a laser, to be pinpoint in the accuracy and where we go forward. Urgency. What up? You and I need to talk this week when you get back. Are we back? All right, are we back? There we go. So when we talk about urgency gives you the ability to focus. In some aspects, some people say it's go time. I love March Madness. The thing is to survive and advance. And when we talk about surviving and advancing, it's like, oh, let's focus. Let's focus our energy. Let's focus our efforts on this particular strategy because we don't have time to screw anything up because the clock is ticking. Things are happening. We got to make some other stuff happen. It allows for you to focus. I want y'all to make sure that we don't miss that. Now, watch this. Emergency pushes you to panic. Because, see, an emergency is all about surviving the moment. It's all about, listen, I don't have time. I don't know if my efforts are going to work, but I'm literally going to do everything I can right now to just make it happen. And sometimes in those panic moments is where we've made some permanent decisions. I want to make sure we say that again. When we move into emergency, which now we go to panic, in those panic moments, we've made permanent decisions. And when you make a permanent decision based on a panic moment, now it takes sometimes a lifetime to get out of it, a lifetime to eradicate it, a lifetime to fix it. So there's a difference between urgency and emergency. One allows for you to focus. The other one allows for you to panic. Yeah. Let's go. Second one. Urgency has a deadline. Yep. That's what you think through. Basketball game, football game, deadline, KPI on your job. Maybe a delivery for a client, a customer. There's an urgency. Oh, I have an interview coming up in a couple of weeks. I need to be prepared. I got to get this bank loan in, right? This application for bank loan. Urgency, right? It has a deadline. I don't want y'all to miss it. Urgency has a deadline. And therefore, the deadline holds you accountable. Just want you to see that. Urgency has a deadline. And the deadline holds you accountable. So we focus. Remember, point number one, we focus. We don't panic because we know the deadline. And we're going to focus our energy into achieving the said goal by the time we get there. Okay? Emergency. You feel like it's past due. I just want to say that again. One of the reasons why you're panicking is because in an emergency, the deadline is past due. Now, I'm not going to throw y'all under the bus on here. I'm going to talk about me. I know personally how I felt in a season of my life that wasn't too long ago, where every bill I had was past due. Every stinking one I had was past due. And because they had given me a deadline for me to what? Focus, for there to be a level of urgency or accountability. And because I didn't have the money or the resources, they come calling me like, yo, we need that payment, sir. And probably maybe 5, maybe 6 years ago, did I finally stop not having the emotional reaction from when a foreign number called my cell phone. Because the foreign numbers used to call my cell phone because I was past due on what I owed them. And because I was past due on what I owed them, it started generating a level of anxiety because I knew I didn't have the resources. So there's certain things that I could have panicked on, or do what we're asking, which is attention, is to understand there's a level of urgency so we don't panic and make a permanent decision in the panic moment because we feel like, or the deadline is now past due. And some of us in our lives, you are currently experiencing an urgency moment right now. But in your heart, you feel like it's past due. And what I want to make sure I encourage you today, it's not past due. That's why we say every Wednesday and Friday, my dopeness doesn't expire. I'm in time, set to arrive on time, to impact the people I'm supposed to at the right time. Nope, it's not past due. You are walking lockstep in purpose and destiny exactly where you're supposed to be. So whatever is the proverbial, I'm past due. There's no utility for me. I can't do it now. I wish I would have done this years ago. I wish I could have. Now we're in the emergency panic moment where now we're in danger of making a permanent decision in a temporary space. I just want to make sure that we get this, because somebody I'm feeling right now needs to make sure that we land this. Is that just because it feels like it's past due doesn't mean that it is. Because we got to go. Who said you're supposed to get this done by this time? Who said that this was supposed to happen by this moment? Who said? And in most cases, we cannot even pinpoint who the person was that said that we over here chasing, that we panicking, that we're making emotional decisions on things that don't have any credence and don't even matter. So today I want to make sure that we're working through understanding this tension between urgency and emergency. So the comparison we're walking through is that urgency allows for you to focus. Emergency causes you to panic. Urgency has a deadline. Emergency feels like it's past due. Okay? If we're good right there, do me a favor. Put some fire and some lighters in the chat. We only got a couple more of these comparisons, and I'm going to get out of here because, as y'all see, I'm on location, and I got to get after the rest of this day. Just put some fire and some lighters in the chat. I want us to understand, urgent does not make it emergent. And a lot of times, it is easy for us, it is easy for us to create boundaries when people have an emergency that they want to make than when people have an emergency that they want to make our emergency. No. Just because it's emergent for you doesn't mean that it's emergent for me. And we're getting better at saying no and creating those boundaries. But I want you to emotionally navigate through this unknown space that many of us are getting ready to traverse in Q2 and for the rest of the year, because we are determined to make the vision of our minds the reality of our life. So we got to remember that urgency and emergency aren't the same thing. Hold on. Okay, Tay, I see you. Yep, you and I probably need to talk so we can dive a little bit deeper into that. I'm going to leave that right where it was. I appreciate that. All right, so we talked about the first thing. Focus versus panic. Deadline versus past due. Now, here's the other part that I think is key, because it's foundational in this emotion that we navigate, is that urgency thinks in abundance. Emergency thinks in scarcity. Let me say that again. Urgency thinks abundance. Emergency thinks scarcity. Now, there is nothing wrong with a good focus. There's nothing wrong with a good deadline. There's nothing wrong with these things because we know the deadline holds us accountable. Our ability to focus in our efforts puts us in a proper position. But it still navigates when we're urgent because we're going to focus and we see the deadline that holds us accountable. We think abundance, like, oh, I can make this happen. This is just part of the story. We begin to rewire and restructure the thinking and the synapses in our brains to begin to say, we can and we will get this done. Abundance. The opportunities are there. They haven't gone anywhere. So I can still make sure that I'm vetting properly, trying every spirit by the spirit. I can have the multitude of counsel to be able to vet these ideas and these things out. I can still do all of these things that are necessary because I'm just focused that I see the deadline and I still see abundance. My time has not passed because my dopeness doesn't expire. I'm not overdue because I'm a classic. Yep, I just had to go through what I went through to put myself in a position to attack what's in front of me. I'm built for this. So when we think urgency gives you the ability to see abundance. Now, emergency makes you think scarcity. Let me say this. I hope to make this part real clear. And it's just like for the ladies. Fellas, do me a favor. Put a 1 in the chat if you had a scarcity mentality and made a decision to get with, marry, date, hold on to, situationship, somebody because you started having a little bit of the panic moment or the scarcity thinking like, this is as good as it's going to get. I mean, I'm going to take her. This is as good as it's going to get. I'm going to take him. This is about as good as it's going to get. And since this is as good as it's going to get, then, I might as well. I mean, I had these standards, but I'm going to lower them a little bit because this is as good as it's going to get. Have you ever made a decision relationally that you knew kind of going into like, this ain't really what I need to do. This ain't really who I need to be with. But because you started panicking and you started making a permanent decision in a panic moment and you felt like it was past due, you then what? Created or got in a relationship with somebody that you knew from the beginning you ain't had no business being in that relationship. Okay, I just saw some ones. I'm just going to assume everybody else is driving. I would put my 1 in the chat. I've done it. And the reason that happens is because you did not think that there was an abundance of opportunities. You thought there was a scarcity space. So instead of vetting out the people you needed to vet out appropriately, you just hurried up and jumped in. And because you hurried up and jumped in, some of y'all have been working your whole life to fix that one decision in that panic moment. That's all I'm saying. Is I want us to have this tension and be clear that there is a difference between urgent and emergent. And the point we just came to is that urgency gives you the ability to think through abundance, where emergency makes you think through scarcity. And when we think things are scarce, we get desperate. When we think things are scarce, we do things we wouldn't normally do because it's pushing the panic button. We're in emotional space and we feel like things are past due and I got to get what I can get right now. And when we begin to settle because of scarcity, we don't see abundance and we don't see opportunity. Urgency just pulls your focus in and gives you the ability to see opportunity quicker than you ever could have seen. But emergency has you panic and think, this is all I got. So I got to at least get something. I got to leave here with something. Okay. Next thing with urgency. Urgency, because you can focus, because it has a deadline that holds you accountable, because you think through abundance. You don't panic because you feel like you're in process. I'm getting better. I'm learning. I'm moving. This is good. I don't have time to do stuff like I did in my 20s that I'm doing now in my 40s. I don't have time to do the stuff that I was doing in my 20s, now that I'm in my 30s. I don't have that kind of time, but I understand I'm in process. And because I'm in process, I extend grace. I can be patient. I can make certain things happen. It is for those of us here on the call who are old enough to remember the advent of the World Wide Web with the AOL CDs, once we understood how they work, we would be patient for that dial-up. Because we saw it in process. We would go to ESPN.com. We would go to some of the other websites. And though that was a slow processor, we didn't panic. We made sure people stayed off the phone because it was in process. And there was a level of anticipation because we knew we had gone to the right website. We had done the right thing. We just were waiting for it to process. Yep. Come on, Tay. You talking nice to me. So, urgency, because we think abundance, know that we're in process. And because we're in process, we extend ourselves grace. Come on, Shane. Vintage patience. Now, emergency simply has you feel like the process is over. And when you feel like the process is over, we go into humanistic, instinctual law number one. We go into survival, protection and survival. I'm not going to be patient. I will not extend myself any grace. This process is over, and I'm going to be stuck or embarrassed because of this time coming up. So now we're making a decision based on being embarrassed and what other people have to say versus extending ourselves grace, knowing we're in process, navigating abundant mentality, knowing that the deadline is going to hold us accountable, and it's a true deadline, and we can focus. See, that's the piece that I want to make sure that we don't miss, because if we continue to keep moving in this emergent space, we panic, we feel like things are past due, we operate in a scarcity mentality, and no longer will we create grace. We would then produce indictments and judgments, in most cases, on ourselves. And when we put ourselves in emotional solitude, emotional jail, emotional shame that has the pillows of shame, disrespect, and frustration, it takes you years to get out of that prison. It takes you years to get out of that self-infliction. And it all goes back to, watch, because we panicked up front. Come on, Shane. You talking nice. Hope they see that. The process is never over. We just have to let the process, because the process needs time to process. Again, urgency is not emergency. Last thing I want us to be able to sit with is that urgency, though it causes you to focus, though it has a deadline to hold you accountable, you still think through abundance, you're in process, all of these things happen because you got hope. Urgency still has hope. Urgency is not willing to throw in the towel. Urgency still sees, I got a chance. Said it earlier, time is not my enemy, but it ain't my friend. So since I don't have an enemy yet, if I lock in and I focus and think through abundance, extend myself grace because I'm in process, understanding the deadline holds me accountable, so it allows me to do what we say, keep, tweak, repeat as I grow, I got hope. I got hope. That's urgency. I got hope. Emergency. The contrast to hope is conclusion. And I want to talk to a couple of people here that I want you to actually put a comma, semicolon, at the end of a statement in which you put a period. And the period that you've put at the end, watch, at the end of that statement wasn't from anybody else. That was self-imposed. And because you say that you hold yourself accountable to your word, this is what I do. You're not going to play in my face. All that other stuff that you navigating out of your pride and your emotions. Some of y'all need to circle back to that statement and just put a comma there because it was never meant to be a conclusion. You put a period at the end of that statement because you were panicking. You felt like it was past due. You were navigating in scarcity. You thought the process was over, so you put a period at the end of that statement. And I'm telling you, go get a eraser. If we texting, go ahead and tap, 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 tap back. And make sure that you take that period. Get rid of it. Put a comma or semicolon, because that means that there's a continuation of a thought. There's a continuation of the story. There is not a conclusion. And regardless of what you are navigating through right now, Shane said it best. When you wake up in the morning, that you got breath in your lungs, activities of your limbs, and a reasonable portion of your right mind, it is not time to panic. Nope. Things are not being concluded. Now, what you thought starting out on the journey might look a little bit different. But just because it looks different doesn't mean it's not destiny. Just because it looks different doesn't mean it's not destiny. And many of us have panicked. And we are navigating in this emergency space because it doesn't look like what we set out for. And we do not think that this destination is our destiny. No. Now is not the time to panic. Now it's just the time to focus. Yep. Hang on in there with the process. Because as long as there's a process, you got hope. As long as you're in the process, you got abundance. Now the deadline holds you accountable. That's fine. If you feel the pressure from the deadline, that's cool. All of us need some accountability. Some external measures to keep us on the path. But we got to focus because I got hope. Yeah. We got to focus. I got hope. So if this is helping, just put some fire and some ladders in the chat. I'm going to get us up out of here. The big thing I wanted to talk about today. Is that urgency is not emergency. And we want to put ourselves in position where we move with a level of focus. We move at a level of clarity. We move at a level of confidence. But we don't move in panic. Because remember, if you panic and if you make a permanent decision when you panic, it may take your life to fix it. And I'm telling you, we don't have to panic. We just need to focus. Because when we focus, we see abundance. We see opportunities. We begin to understand that the deadline just holds us accountable. Because we're navigating on foundational principle. The time isn't our enemy. It's just not our friend. And many of us have done great things, not with having a bunch of friends. Just knowing this is who it is, this is what it is, and let's go get it. Listen, I appreciate y'all. I just want you to know I appreciate y'all rocking with your boy every Wednesday, Friday morning at 7 a.m. Eastern. And so before we get out of here, just know tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, the golden hour. Shout out to Michigan. The golden hour. We will be on. Click the link in the bio to make sure that you register. We're going to talk through a different level of perspective. The golden hour is a different vibe. It's where we kind of lean in a little bit more to some of the things we've talked about from a different angle. But listen, if you want to make sure that you're a part of that group, those who are part of it felt like last month it was crazy. And I'm super, super excited to be able to kind of roll out this new space on perspective, this kind of twist. So join us, 7 p.m. Eastern, tomorrow evening, April the 11th. There's a link in my bio that allows for you to register so you can hold your spot. So come on, hold your spot and come join us. We're looking forward to having a good time, for the golden hour. Yep, the golden hour. That's what we're calling it, the golden hour. Second thing, if you are not subscribed to now the VROS newsletter, you can go ahead, click the link in the bio. It's meant to be a 2 to 4 minute read that takes tips like this, brings it straight to your inbox. It drops every Monday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern. I just got some feedback from somebody that said they needed this past Monday's newsletter. And so shout out to everybody who has subscribed. Shout out to everybody who has asked other people to subscribe and is blessing other folks. Let's blow this thing up. We're just under we're just under 200. So the next number I want to be able to hit is 200 people subscribe. So let's get this 200 people subscribed to the newsletter so we can go ahead and make this happen. So we can hit this milestone and again, allow for more people to be encouraged, allow for more people to be focused, to give people an opportunity to be able to understand that the vision of their mind can ultimately become the reality of their lives. And then definitely last but not least, I am actively working with the team right now. And I couldn't have said that before, and I thank God for having a team that is focused and dedicated to a vision that God has given me that I do not believe is mine. Let me even say that. The vision is not mine. I'm just trying to steward it properly. And as I'm giving out the vision that God has given me, people are seeing themselves in the vision. And so that vision is going to come to culmination October the 4th and the 5th. I was recently out in D.C. This past weekend. Shout out to Zion of Fredericksburg. Got a chance to worship with them on Sunday. Shakara Mama, got a chance to worship. Lead pastor, my sister, the incomparable Reverend Dr. Angela Thomas. But man, the vision is coming clear. When I tell you the vision is coming clear on the transformation that is going to happen October the 5th and October the 4th and the 5th. I'm telling y'all, you do not want to miss it. We are working behind the scenes very hard to make sure that we can start rolling out some additional information as far as people who are going to be a part of it, speakers that you're going to hear, topics that's going to be crazy. I got a surprise. I got a surprise. I'm excited about the surprise. Just know I'm excited about the surprise that I think will be one that people will never forget. So if you want to be on the waiting list, because spaces will be limited. The venue is beautiful, but spaces will be limited. If you want to be on the waiting list to be a part of this event, just click the link in the bio, sign up. All the new information about the event will drop there first. It's going to drop there first. And so I want to make sure that those who want to be a part of VROS, the gathering of the heroes, the victors, and the guardians in DC. Think about it. October the 4th and the 5th, join the wait list, and you get all the information there. Listen, I absolutely love y'all. Only thing I want you to do between now and Friday is to shift and to make sure that you're in an urgent moment and you're not in the emergent moment. You don't have to panic. Because as long as you are awake, breathing, and active, you got it's abundance, it's hope. So let's check ourselves. And I know some of this is I'm busy, I'm moving, I'm getting it done. Yep, some of that's because you're moving in emergency, not urgency. Some of the places where you don't have the boundaries put in place for self-care is because you're moving in emergency and not urgency. All I want you to do is understand this. And I want you to check yourself, check your calendar. Urgency. Remember, it allows you to focus. Come on, internet. There we go. Allows you to focus. It has a deadline. There's abundance in thinking because we got a chance. I'm extending myself grace because I'm in process. And at the end of the day, I got hope. If you're not navigating those characteristics, then you're probably moving in an emergent space. You're not navigating boundaries properly. And maybe your perspective's off a little bit about where you are. Just want you to focus. You got hope. You got hope. You got a chance. So as you're navigating between now and Friday, before we come back together at 7 a.m. Eastern, please tell a neighbor, tell a friend, bring somebody with you. Let's blow this thing up for those who decide to get up, get over the hump in the morning. But I want you to do this. Extend yourself some grace. And remember this. Just because you started out on this journey to get better, it doesn't mean that you weren't already good. So until Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern, I'll see you then.